I knew the Dallas Mavericks were really good and a different team this year. I even made a video on the channel about why I think they're legitimate contenders this year, but I did not see this coming at all. I thought the Phoenix Suns honestly had the championship in the bag this year. They were such a well-rounded, overall dominant team, but right now, going into the fourth quarter, they are losing 92-50 in Game 7 against the Mavericks, a 42-point differential, and as of right now, that would be the biggest margin of victory in a Game 7 in NBA playoff history, ironically enough actually beating their own record when they beat Houston by 40 in 2005, but the point is that the Mavericks are absolutely insane, and while I was high on them at the end of the season, they are even much better than even I thought they were. I thought they were the second best team in the West behind the Suns, but right now it's looking like they're that number one team, and I think they're going to win the NBA championship from here. And that's what I'm going to be discussing in today's video, is 3 different main reasons why I think the Mavericks will be able to win the championship in 2022. With that being said, let's get into the analysis. The first reason I wanted to discuss is I think in terms of personal players, the Mavericks have the best player left in the NBA right now this season, of course being Luka Doncic. Of the teams remaining in the conference finals round moving on, I think he's the best in the league right now. That's right, he's better than Steph Curry at this point. He's just been absolutely hooping these playoffs, and we saw how in both 2021 and 2020, Luka put on a show in the first round of the playoffs against the Clippers both years as well. He was just going absolutely insane, and we really did see and get a glimpse of how he can be a really special playoff player. But this year we've seen that carry into the second round. He has a better supporting cast around him now, and it's finally resulting in wins for the Mavericks and a championship push. And it's really been proven over the last pretty much 3 to 4 decades in the NBA that you kind of do need that star player, top 5 MVP caliber player to lead your team to an NBA championship. If you want to win a championship, you kind of do need that player. And while seeing great, well-rounded teams that have great defensive scheme and great coaching, great ball movement on offense, and work well as a team, like the Phoenix Suns, and those reasons, everything I mentioned, that's why I thought they were going to win it all this year. But I think that's really their problem, is they still don't have really that main star. And while you can argue that is Devin Booker and Chris Paul, they weren't showing up in the clutch, and they're definitely not really like top 5 players and probably not top 10 players in the NBA. They're not really those MVP caliber players that a player like Luka is, and then the Mavericks have just found an absolute gem with him. In these playoffs, he's done a fantastic job scoring in isolation. He's done a good job getting to the rim. Even though he's a little bit of a slow player, he's still very crafty and stronger than he looks. He's strong around the rim. That little slow kind of step back that he has, where he's stepping back at the top of the key for 3-pointers, is absolutely unstoppable. He's shifty. He has good handles. His rebounding has been great. He's averaging more than 10 rebounds per game. He's able to get out in transition. And his playmaking, as always, has been great and is really benefiting the Mavericks. And I think that's really the main key, because we saw, especially in this series against the Phoenix Suns, how in Game 1 and 2, Luka was scoring a little bit better than he was in Game 3 and 4, but Game 3 and 4 was the ones where he was racking up more assists, he was making a lot of plays, getting others involved, and allowing those supporting players, trusting them to knock down those 3-pointers, those corner threes when he kicks it out, and they were able to win those games, and honestly dominate tonight as well, not just because of his incredible scoring, but that as well, his driving and kicking and that 3-point shooting from the Mavericks, which is actually my second reason that I'm going to be discussing pretty soon. But just still focusing in on Luka, like I said, I really think he's the best player left. When we look at his stats and what he's done in the playoffs so far this season, he's averaging just over 31 points per game on really good efficiency, considering he's creating his own shot a lot of the time, shooting 46% from the field in the playoffs and about 57% true shooting, while also putting up about 7 assists per game, like I mentioned, 10 rebounds per game, almost averaging that 30-point triple-double in the playoffs, which is absolutely insane, along with 2 steals. I think something we're not talking about is he's really buying in on the defensive end of the floor and has improved his overall defensive game a lot, not just showing in steals, but showing in the way that he's playing overall defense. Luka's just been incredible this playoff run, and like I said, I think he's a top 5 player in the NBA and the best player left this season. The second reason I wanted to discuss is the supporting cast of this Mavericks team and how well all of these players have come together as a team on the offensive side of the floor and really played their roles well. We look at a guy like Jalen Brunson, who's really taken on the role of being the second best player for this team. He's averaged 18 points per game this series, 3 assists per game, and especially in that first round against the Jazz too, did a really good job being kind of that secondary backup point guard for this team, that playmaker. He pretty much took on the role of being Luka when Luka was out of the game, and also a floor spacer and shooter when Luka was in the game. And we look at all of the other supporting players on this team, like Dorian Finney-Smith, Maxi Kleber, Reggie Bullock, Davis Bertans, Spencer Dinwiddie. All of these guys have really fit into the Mavs offensive system well. They've been able to catch and shoot those passes from Luka. When Luka drives into that paint, he kicks it out to them, and I mentioned this in my other video. These shooters have just done a really good job of buying into that role. Almost all of these guys shot over 40% from 3 in the series against the Suns. The only one that didn't was Reggie Bullock, who literally shot 38.5%. Pretty much the same thing. Some of these guys shot over 45% from 3, especially Davis Bertans in this series. He shot 11 of 20 from 3, 55%. A small sample size, but he's really come into his own. He's been a great piece for them coming back to the Mavericks, and he's been getting a lot of criticism because he hasn't lived up to his contract, especially with the Wizards, but he got traded over to the Mavericks in the Porzingis deal, and he's really taken on his role with this team. He fits in to this kind of team system around Luka a lot better, and just in general, if the Mavs players, if their supporting players aren't shooting, they still do a good job of finding opportunities for the offense, driving into the paint, creating a shot for another teammate, moving that ball, swinging it to an open player if they need to when someone's rotating to them. And overall, this offense has just flowed so well, and when they have taken those shots, those perimeter players, they've done a fantastic job of consistently knocking them down. Overall, in the playoffs, the Mavericks are shooting 38% as a team during the playoffs and have the highest volume of 3-point shots, being the only team in the playoffs to shoot over 40 3-point attempts per game, and it's absolutely working for them. This style for them of shooting a lot of 3-point shots and being able to make them is working really well, and I think this is a reason why they can beat the Warriors next round as well. The Warriors are very good on rotations as well, but with all due respect, I think if the Mavs can beat the Suns with this offensive system and the Suns' incredible defense, who's arguably the best in the league, I think they'll be able to beat the Warriors defense as well with this system. I know the Warriors have an amazing defense as well, but I think this 3-point shooting from the Mavericks is just going to be too much for them and whoever they face in the finals as well. In general, the shooting from the Mavericks has just been insane, and in today's league, that's something you might need to succeed as a team, and the Mavericks absolutely have that, and they're just killing the teams that they face in the playoffs this year with their 3-point shooting. And the last reason I wanted to discuss and why I think the Mavericks can win the championship this season is their defense. And this is really, like I said in my other videos where I talked about them and how they're legit contenders, which they've obviously proven to be. The real difference for this team this season has been their defense. Luka has always been there for this team over the last 3 years. The shooters have not exactly always been there, but the offensive system has always been there for this team, especially in 2020, I believe it was, where they had the best offensive rating in the NBA. But of course, that big difference is the defense. This was a team who, in the last 2 to 3 years, ranked in the bottom 10 in the NBA in defensive rating. This year, in the regular season, they were in the top 10 in defensive rating, top 10 in the playoffs as well. Right now, they have the 8th ranked defensive rating in the NBA playoffs, but that's going to go up after this Game 7 against the Phoenix Suns, where they held them to under 90 points. And overall, just everything about their defense is so much better this year. I think their star player in Luka buying in on that end of the floor and really putting in the work to become a good defender was a big key. A defensive anchor in Dwight Powell, who I think is turning into one of the more underrated players in the league. He's a great communicator, shot blocker, traps at the right time, rotates well, and overall is a good pick and roll defender as well. He's done a great job defensively. A guy like Dorian Finney-Smith, who's a great perimeter defender, he had a big role in stopping guys like Chris Paul and Devin Booker on the Suns. And overall, as a team on defense, Jason Kidd's done a great job coaching them. Their rotations are so much better, their communication's better, and just as an overall defensive team, they are there on defense, and that's just, like I said again, it's just really big, the big difference for them. And it's been proven that in the last pretty much 20 years in the NBA, it's virtually impossible to win an NBA championship without a top 10 defense. The last team to win an NBA championship without a top 10 defensive rating in the regular season was the 2001 LA Lakers, who with Kobe and Shaq, that incredible offense, I mean, of course they were able to win without that defense, but other than that, literally in the last 20 years, 0 teams have won the NBA title without a top 10 defense. I think that's why the Mavs weren't able to get past the Clippers in the last 2 years, but this year they have that defense. Everything about their defense is so much better, and it looks dominant. The fact that they're able to do this against the Phoenix Suns, hold them to under 90 points in a Game 7, shut down Chris Paul and Devin Booker is absolutely insane, and I think they're going to struggle a little bit more in the series against the Warriors than they did against the Suns, but I think they're still going to cause some problems for the Warriors offense and disrupt their flow a little bit because of how much of a defensive team they've become. So there you have it. Those are the 3 main reasons from what I've seen in the playoffs this year that I'm changing my prediction, and I think the Mavericks are going to win the NBA title. Like I said in the title, I know I'm wrong again. This is the 2nd year in a row that I've late in the season predicted, or late in the regular season predicted, that the Phoenix Suns will be the NBA champions, and both years it just hasn't gone that way. And like I said, I think it's because they're missing that star player, but I had believed in the Mavs. I just didn't think they would beat the Suns, and look at what they did. They absolutely demolished them. They're looking like an incredibly dominant team. Because of what I discussed in today's video, I think that from here on out in the conference finals, I'm predicting they're going to win the NBA championship this season in 2022. Thank you guys for watching today's video. Comment down below your thoughts on the Mavericks and who you think is going to win the NBA title this year, and I'll see you guys next video.